Hey there, Parker Reed here, and welcome to PR Media, your home for everything movies and music through my eyes. And today we have a review of the new Alfred Hitchcock Classics Collection on 4K Ultra HD. The new Alfred Hitchcock box set on 4K is made up of 4 of his classic films, those being Rear Window, Vertigo, Psycho, and The Birds, and these are 4 essential films in his filmography. So let's go through them one by one and see what you're getting on each release, see how the audio and visuals are, and also what you're getting with the packaging. Alright, so if you decide to pick up the Alfred Hitchcock Classics Collection on 4K, which features Rear Window, Vertigo, Psycho, and The Birds, this is what you're getting for the front cover. There is some embossing here on the logo, and on the back you have some poster art and some quotes about the different films and some of the bonus features that you're getting. And when you open it up, it features a really nice slip case, and you open it up, and it features Mr. Hitchcock himself, and then the same artwork here on the front again. And you open it up and the presentation is really great. You have this collage featuring a quote for him: "I enjoy playing the audience like a piano." And all these are housed in a slipcase. I don't love that. I wish they were kind of clips, but I'll take what I can get. And you feature 4K disc as well as the Blu-ray disc. And there's a plethora of bonus features. I'll let you read through those on your own. And the same thing with Vertigo, Psycho, The Birds, and on the last page we have another collage featuring Hitchcock while directing Psycho. And if you want the download of this, and you will, the first one to get the code gets the code. There you are, that's for free. And you close it up, and that's what you're getting with the Alfred Hitchcock 4K collection. Alright, first up, let's see what you're getting with Rear Window. Rear Window is the story of a recuperating news photographer who believes he has witnessed a murder. Confined to a wheelchair after an accident, he spends his time watching the occupants of neighboring apartments through a telephoto lens and binoculars, and becomes convinced that a murder has taken place. So going into reviewing this set, I have never seen any of these 4 films in their entirety. Of course, I've seen clips and parodies because they've become such a part of the cultural zeitgeist over the years, so I was excited to go into this. And starting off with 1954's Rear Window, I was a little bit nervous about the movie just because it's in one pretty much confined location, and I thought I might lose interest, but this movie was very captivating. It's interesting, the mystery unfolds, and you really see why they call Alfred Hitchcock the master of suspense, because this movie is suspenseful and the payoff is really good as well. And from a visual standpoint in 4K, Rear Window doesn't have a lot to gain from the format. Sure, the image is pretty clear, and the aspect ratio is a little bit cropped because it's so old. There's not a lot of natural light that they're using, and there's not a lot of visual effects or anything like that. So it doesn't gain a lot from that. Sure, the image is probably clearer than it is on the Blu-ray, but audio is really where Rear Window benefits from the 4K format. And all its releases feature DTS audio. There really is no need for Dolby Atmos because Hitchcock doesn't use a lot of big effects or super bombastic music, even though the music on these releases is really good. But Rear Window sounds great. You can hear all the little foot taps and all the little things going on in this mystery, because sound is really important to this film as well as they're unraveling the mystery. And overall, I would say of the 4 movies, I really enjoyed this film. It's right there at the top of my favorites. But I think that the 4K format is probably wasted the most on this release. It didn't need it, but having it a part of this collection is really cool. Next up on the Alfred Hitchcock Classics Collection on 4K, we have Vertigo. An ex-police officer who suffers from an intense fear of heights is hired to prevent an old friend's wife from committing suicide, but all is not as it seems. Hitchcock's haunting, compelling masterpiece is uniquely revelatory about the director's own predilections and hang-ups, and is widely considered to be one of his masterworks. Of course, I had expectations going into Vertigo. It's often referred to as Alfred Hitchcock's masterpiece, so there's going to be expectations put into place. And for about the first hour and 15 minutes, I was like, okay, this is a nice mystery, kind of fantastical story, but I don't see why it's so great. But the second half of this movie, holy crap, the revelations that are made and the mystery as it unfolds, it's absolutely spectacular, full of a lot of dramatic tension, and it's a movie I really enjoyed in the end. As for Vertigo's 4K treatment, this might be the best transfer of all 4. The visuals are absolutely immaculate. This movie has the most locations, so there's a lot of outside scenes, a lot of natural light, and the image is pure. And for 1958, this movie looks absolutely phenomenal. I'm glad they were able to preserve it. And the film grain is noticeable. Obviously, all these films were shot on film, so that you're going to notice film grain. But it didn't overpower the screen, and overall the transfer was really good. Audio is fantastic as well. There's a lot of great music and a lot of great just natural sounds. Everything sounds great, and with all 4 of these releases, there is no problem with hearing the dialogue, and I absolutely love it. It's fantastic, because that's my #1 gripe with any release, is when you can't hear the damn dialogue over the music or over the sound effects or just at all. I remember recently with Goonies, that was a problem that I had. But overall, Vertigo was a great inclusion in this set. No Alfred Hitchcock best of sets complete without Vertigo. It's absolutely phenomenal. Check it out as part of this box set. Up next, we have possibly the most famous horror movie to ever come out. That is 1960's Psycho. In Psycho, Phoenix secretary Marion Crane, on the lam after stealing $40,000 from her employer in order to run away with her boyfriend, Sam Loomis, is overcome by exhaustion during a heavy rainstorm. Traveling on the back roads to avoid the police, she stops for the night at the ramshackle Bates Motel and meets the polite but highly strung proprietor Norman Bates, a young man with an interest in taxidermy and a difficult relationship with his mother. That's putting it lightly. For those who haven't seen Psycho yet, it is one of the seminal films in the horror genre, and the suspense drama, and the thriller genre. And I'm not going to give away any of the plot twists for you if you haven't seen it before. I'd seen pretty much every important scene and knew how the entire movie unfolded, but I had never watched a movie just front to back. But the black and white in this movie absolutely pops off the screen. The 4K transfer really helps the black levels, and all the blacks are deep and inky. You can see what's going on the entire time, and the clarity is absolutely phenomenal. I find that black and white movies often look great in 4K, but this movie probably looks the best out of all those. And from an audio standpoint, I was most interested in this one because the music's fairly iconic and the dialogue is very seminal to this film. And it all sounds great, no complaints here. The DTS audio is perfectly fine, don't need any Dolby Atmos. Psycho looks and sounds great on 4K. Last up in the Alfred Hitchcock Classics Collection on 4K, we have the horror film, his monster movie, The Birds. In The Birds, Melanie Daniels meets Mitch Brenner in a San Francisco pet store and decides to follow him home. She brings with her the gift of 2 lovebirds, and they strike up a romance. One day, birds start attacking children at Mitch's sister's party, and a huge assault starts in the town by attacking birds. Of the 4 films included in this set, The Birds was admittingly my least favorite. Maybe that's just because it's the last one I watched and I was kind of feeling Hitchcock fatigue. But The Birds is absolutely great as a horror film. It's one of those movies you never really learn the twist or learn why anything's happening. It's all about the spectacle and the horror of it. And on 4K, this looked great. And noticeably, this picture was very high in grain, but it doesn't sacrifice clarity for that. You can see the detail on everybody's faces. The birds look great. And the audio is great as well. There's a lot of sound effects in this film, and you can really notice because they're very present and they're overwhelming, and at points they even overwhelm the dialogue happening on screen. So that was cool to see, and it kind of gave it a realistic feel, because if there's hundreds of birds flying around, you're not going to be able to hear what people are saying, especially in confined spaces. So overall, I really like The Birds. It wasn't my favorite movie of the set, obviously, because Rear Window, Vertigo, and Psycho are such classics, but this came out in 1963, and there's a reason it's still around. People are still watching it. Birds is great in 4K, and it was a great watch. So, should you pick up the Alfred Hitchcock Collection in 4K? Hell yes. This is a great box set. All 4 of these movies look great in 4K, sound great in 4K, and they've never been on the format before. You can only get them as part of this release, except for Psycho. There's a steelbook release at Best Buy. Right now it rings up at $69.99. That's less than 20 bucks a movie for these classic films. You'll want these as part of your collection because you can show them to anybody and they'll be timeless. You can show them to your grandparents and they'll love them, your parents will love them, your friends will love them, your kids will love them, and they'll be around 100 years from now again. Not to mention this is full of bonus material that you'll really enjoy. There's hours and hours and hours of it, even on the 4K disc, which is great to see. So pick up the Alfred Hitchcock Classics Collection in 4K as soon as you can. Don't wait for a price drop because it might sell out. I know there was only 1 copy at Best Buy that I picked up, and I had to get it online before the store opened so I could just go and pick it up. It's a popular release for a reason. Hitchcock is one of the best directors to ever live. You'll want to own this set. It's a great inclusion in the 4K library, and one you definitely want to pick up right now. Thank you so much for watching my review of the Alfred Hitchcock Classics Collection in 4K. It is a great release, and I definitely think you should go pick it up. My name is Parker Reed. You've been watching PR Media. Keep supporting physical media like this release, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Mr. Hitchcock, what is your definition of happiness?
A clear horizon. Nothing to worry about on your plate. Only things that are creative and not destructive.